wasn't expecting this much snow. Maybe a sprinkling, but not accumulating snow. It sure makes it pretty out here though. Welcome to Colorado in the springtime. Welcome back to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, give the video a like, and comment down below. Let me know what you think about the shoe that I'm gonna be talking about today. We're gonna be doing the full review in the Altra Timp 5. This has been a very fun shoe, a good daily trainer type of trail shoe, but does that mean it's perfect? Is it the right shoe for you? This is a zero drop shoe. All right, let's talk all about that on today's full review. We're gonna be talking about the build, the comfort, the performance, the value. But first, voiceover Chad, why don't you tell us about some of the specs and features of the Altra Timp 5?
Altra states, it's grippy, it's light, and it's ready to get rowdy. With a lighter weight and grippier outsole, it's ready for a full day of a full send. It's designed for light and luxurious performance with a little extra bounce and added durability. Jump rocks, run forever. As for some of the specs and features, you get a Vibram Megagrip rubber outsole, their Ego Max midsole foam, standard FootShapre fit, an engineered upper, gator trap, hook and loop tab, compatible for gator systems, 29 millimeters of stack in the rear and the toe for a 0 millimeter drop, 277 grams or 9.8 ounces in a men's size 9, and a US MSRP of $155. I should also state that Altra did provide the shoe for the purpose of review, but all thoughts and opinions are strictly my own. Chad, back over to you.
Quick tip, if you don't want your water bottles to freeze from your hydration vest, put them underneath your rain jacket or windbreaker. It'll help keep them warm and prevent the tips from freezing. There you go. So starting with the build and build quality, I think Altra did a really good job in the Timp 5. A lot of their shoes in the past would end up ripping kind of right here on the inside of the shoe or sometimes on the outside. And I feel like they've addressed that problem with all of their new shoes. That engineered upper is quite durable. You have some really nice overlays, especially around the toe. You have a nice toe cap that helps protect your toes, especially if you accidentally kick a rock. You also have some nice overlays around the side and ankle of the shoe. Those overlays in combination with the upper just help build a nice durable quality upper that should last a long time. The midsole is made of their Ego Max, which I've actually quite enjoyed. While I'm a little skeptical of the longevity of that midsole, I do think it should last a fair amount of time in this shoe. I would be surprised if you don't get 400 to 500 miles out of it. Oh, which way do I want to go? Let's go uphill. And then last item about overall build and build quality is that Vibram Megagrip outsole really doing its job out here today. I couldn't confirm, but I believe the lugs are either 3.5 or 4 millimeters in depth. And then of course, because it's Vibram made, it should last a very long time and should be very durable. It's also really grippy. So overall build quality, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Now onto comfort. I enjoy the soft cushioning of the midsole. Now that midsole stack only comes in at 29 millimeters, of course, zero drop, so nice and flat, traditional to Altra. And while that's not high stack compared to today's standards, I didn't feel and have never felt that I've needed more. I also appreciate that my feet never get too fatigued or feel too fatigued, and they maintain pretty good blood flow in the shoe, which again keeps things nice and comfortable. Now as for the upper, a couple things worth mentioning. One, the tongue is nicely padded, and there's some really good padding around the ankle and heel. Not overly plush, but just a good amount, the right amount of padding to keep things comfortable. The interesting thing about the tongue, show you here, the way they did the laces, you have these straps here on each side, creating this gap in the middle of the lacings. So you get a pretty good secure fit around the front middle part of your foot here, but then the laces all tie up right here along the top. That's not necessarily problematic, and actually I found it convenient because this gap right here means that the hump part of your foot, where there's that bone, kind of sits generally right here, so you don't get that same lace irritation across the top of your foot that some shoes give. Now, the one thing that is kind of weird is I've laced up the shoes, and this seems to be almost every single run. I'll lace up the shoe to what I feel is the right tension, tightness, without over tightening. And then I'll start running, and a few miles into the run, I feel like I have to stop, untie the laces, and retie them to give me the lockdown feel that I'm really looking for. So that's kind of weird, a little annoying. The nice thing though is once you tie it, the laces are textured and they stay tied. So you're not gonna have to worry about retying them because they come loose. Once you get that dialed in, then the fit around the upper is nice and comfortable. My foot feels like it has enough blood flow, so I've never experienced any numbness or hot spots or pinching in the shoe, which is really quite nice. And it makes me think that this is a shoe that you could take even on an Ultra. I have always remained comfortable in this shoe. The last thing I'll mention about comfort is the foot shape. So this is Ultra's standard foot shape size or shoe. It's not their original, which is a little wider in the toe box, and it's noticeable. Now, for my foot, which is average to narrow, this feels quite comfortable, but just know that it doesn't have quite as much toe room as their original offerings with original foot shape, or as much as, like, say, a Topo athletic shoe. So overall comfort, I'm gonna give an 8.5 out of 10. Looks like I've reached the top of this portion of the mountain, which is where the towers are. Just a blessing to be here. The performance of the shoe. Let's start with the upper. I'm actually gonna start with a complaint. So first off, the shoe does not dissipate or drain water very good at all, particularly in the toe box. They just hold water. It doesn't dissipate out of the shoe. I also, one run, accidentally stepped in a creek, completely submerging my shoes, and noticed that as I was running, I could just feel that water in my toes. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Related to that, I found that the upper wasn't overly breathable. Now, that's not too much of a problem for me because my feet don't sweat a lot, but if you really need a breathable shoe, this may not be the right one for you. Now, in conditions like this, that's a little bit nicer because it helps protect your foot from the cold and the wet and the snow. Other than that, on the upper, and I alluded to it in the comfort, but it's really comfortable, gives you a nice lockdown feel. Other than the lacing issue that I mentioned earlier, I don't have to think too much about the shoe while running in it. For the most part, I'm able to just hit the trails and enjoy the miles. Performance of that midsole is nice and cushioned. It's soft. I've never felt like I've needed or wanted more cushioning. The midsole isn't very bouncy or responsive, which is okay. The downside to that is it means that the shoe is not overly inspiring. Now, don't get me wrong, I have definitely enjoyed running in this shoe, and I'm going to continue to run in this shoe. It's not a shoe that I find that I want to really push the pace in. It's more of that daily trainer, just putting in some good miles. I could even see using this in ultra racing. Whew. This downhill section is a lot of fun. It's a little steep, but the shoes are doing great. The shoe fits true to size, so I don't feel like my toes are smashing against the front of the shoe, especially like on a downhill section like this. I mentioned the lockdown across the top of the foot, but there's also some nice structure and a good secure hold around the ankle. And then lastly, on performance, that outsole. Oh, it is phenomenal. You get that Vibram Megagrip, and it definitely provides mega grip, almost no matter the conditions, including snowy runs like this. I've ran in more wet conditions on rock and slick rock, as well as single track, double track, trails, gravel roads, you name it. The outsole just performs so nicely. The shoe does actually quite well as a road to trail shoe. It performed a lot better on the road than I expected it to. It actually reminded me a lot of the Torn 7. Now I do wish the shoe was just a little bit lighter weight, but I think there's a little bit of balance between overall build, having those extra overlays, and high quality, long lasting materials to weight ratio. It's kind of on the slightly heavier side, but again, a really nice build. And the shoe never feels clunky underfoot, but I think it would really perform better, especially as a race day ultra shoe, if the overall weight felt just a little lighter underfoot. Now, I do feel that my foot has nice agility. I feel nimble on the trails. I feel like the shoe gives really good ground feel, ground contact, allowing me to adapt to the ground and the trail, the rocks and the roots underfoot, to feel what's going on. So it definitely has that going for it. Overall, I'm gonna give the performance also an 8.5 out of 10. All right, I hope that all makes sense and I didn't ramble on there for a minute. Let me know what you think of this shoe as well. Now, we're gonna talk about value in a moment, but I'm curious, have you ran in the Altra Timp 5 or the Timps of the past? And what do you think about this new version, the version 5? So let's talk about the value. At $155 US MSRP, I think that is a competitive price, but it's definitely on the upper end of that competitive price. Now, I think Altra is aware and knows very well what to price this shoe at, because there's not too many zero drop good trail shoes. Now, Topo Athletic does have a zero drop trail shoe, and I haven't ran in it, so I can't compare, apples to apples there. $155 is the price point, the max price point that most people are willing to pay for this shoe. I'm curious to know your thoughts. Do you think that's too much money? Is it the right amount? What are your thoughts? For the $155, you are getting a quality build and a shoe that should last a very long time. It's also quite a universal shoe in that you can do pretty much all of your trail runs in it. And if you want to buy a shoe that looks good, well, I really think Altra nailed the design out of the park. Really cool design, cool colorway, especially this yellow and blue colorway. I really like it a lot. Not that you pay more necessarily for a shoe that looks cool, but certainly doesn't hurt. So I'm gonna put value 7.5 out of 10. Just feeling like it could be just a little more improved, or for $155 that I would be getting just a more inspiring shoe. At that price point, there's a lot of really good shoes. They're not necessarily zero drop, so that is a consideration, and again, why Altra can probably charge the $155 that they list this shoe for. Thirsty. Look, it's not frozen. So wrapping this all up, is this a shoe that I recommend? I think if you are looking for a quality zero drop shoe that you can do all of your trail running in, then yes, this is the shoe for you. You should definitely check it out, and I would recommend it. It's a shoe that I'm going to continue to run in, and like I said, one that I've really enjoyed. But if you don't need a zero drop shoe, I think there are other shoes that you should consider, because for $5 less, you could get the, for example, the Salomon Genesis, or one of my new favorites, the Topo Athletic Mountain Racer 3, a 5mm drop shoe that is just a blast to run in. And another one of those shoes that you can do all kinds of running in, including ultra racing. So I like the Altra Timp 5, especially for what it is, a zero drop daily trail shoe. Altra did a great job with the overall build. That Ego Max midsole is nice and soft and comfortable underfoot, mile after mile after mile. And I think I might be lost. I need to check my watch maps to see where I am. And of course that Vibram Megagrip outsole is phenomenal. So that's all I have today. Let me know what your thoughts are on this shoe, and if you have this shoe already, I'd love to know what your experience has been as well. All right, let's leave off this video as we always do, and I appreciate you for being here today. Remember to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and join the channel membership. $1 a month, and it supports the channel, adventures like this, and some races that I have coming up. You also get access to some exclusive videos. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's wrap up this video and go back to the car, wherever the heck that is. All right, remember to be consistent, express gratitude, and enjoy every mile as I am today in the Altra Timp 5. See you on the next video. Bye. Always got to come back for the camera.